All right, so let's start with the beginning chant. I'm sharing the screen so that you can chant with me. So we shall chant in a call and response way. You may repeat after me. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Vidyam Karovavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the Supreme Spirit protect us. May the Supreme Spirit nourish us. May we work together with great energy. May our study be vigorous and fruitful. May love and harmony dwell amongst us. Om. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Sunday Talk. So the topic of my talk today is rather uncommon. It is, there is a hermit in each of us. For quite some time, this idea was playing in my mind, but a few weeks ago, the inspiration to develop into in the form of a talk came from quite unusual a source. A few weeks ago, I was watching one web series in Netflix, and it was quite political. I just was watching it only to understand American culture, and I heard good reviews about this web series. It's totally political, House of Cards. Of course, I did not watch it through. I watched only a few episodes. And in one of those episodes, the protagonist, the Congressman Underwood, goes to a business tycoon of St. Louis. The business tycoon in his backyard has a forest. And one of the scenes is like this, that both of them standing in the forest, and the business tycoon is an avid bird watcher. He is with his binoculars watching at the birds of his forest, of that forest. And there he recites these two lines from Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. The hermit, withdrawn to himself, avoiding the settlements, sing by himself a song. What he was referring to was a bird called hermit thrush, which is a very shy bird. And because of his nature of being solitary, it is called hermit thrush. So that prompted me, inspired me to think about this phenomenon of seclusion. And I believe that irrespective of who we are, where we are, whether we are a monk or a householder, an employee, a student, wherever we are, all of us deep within ourselves, a hermit, an inner hermit. Why I say so? What makes me think so? All of us has an inner world. And this can be compared with an inner child. Psychologists say that all of us, all the adults, hidden in themselves, there is a child, inner child, which represent our childlike capacity for innocence, wonder, awe, sensitivity, playfulness, even being silly. And a healthy mind, for a healthy mind, it is important that we acknowledge, accept, and take responsibility for loving and parenting this inner child, one's own inner child. We should be able to recognize the inner child within us and nurture it, love it, and sometimes we have to set even limits for that. We have to recognize sometimes what the inner child is prompting us. Some of our behaviors, our reactions, our feelings are coming from the inner child. We need to recognize the inner child and treat it properly with love, compassion, and at the same time, being a good parent, setting limits for the child. Similarly, I think that there is a hermit in each of us, whether we know it or don't know it. Hermit is one who loves to live in seclusion. Similarly, the word monk also has come from the word mono, living alone. All of us, as I said, has an inner world. This inner world is made up of our ideologies, our values, our memories, our likes, our dislikes, and some of deepest emotions which is difficult to express properly to others. In the term of yoga, all of us has got unique samskaras that make for our unique inner worlds. Even although we are inhabiting in the same world, but each of us has a unique, different inner world. People of the same household, growing up in the same family, has got different inner worlds. Even identical twins who share so much their genes with each other, and if they are growing up in the same family, even they, each of them has got a different inner world. And sometimes when this inner world is in conflict with the outer world, we want to be left alone in our inner world. Sometimes when we have too many engagements with the world, too much meeting with people, after such a busy day, all of us want some me time to live in this private world, the personal space, the personal bubble. All of us have it. And sometimes each of us from our deepest being feel like we are in bondage. All these duties, obligations, norms of the society are like binding to us. We want to break free this bondage and want to be totally alone, independent, free from everything. In yoga, this urge to be being alone is called Kevala. According to yoga, the goal of human beings, human life, is to have total independence. The goal of yoga is aloneness, kaivalya, samadhi, or meditation, or quietening the mind. These are only means to the end of achieving that total aloneness. According to yoga, we are, each of us is caught up in this game of the world called Prakriti, and we identify ourselves with this world, and there starts all the problem. Sometimes we get hard blows from the world and retire to our inner world. We feel that we are alone, but again, we recognize it for a while and then again start going the way we were walking. So in a sense, this inner world, this hermit, what I was telling about inner hermit, is the metaphor for our inner world. The aspiration to be alone, the aspiration to be alone, cut off from everything, living in our private world, this aspiration, this is what I am calling the inner hermit. To borrow a term from neurology, we may say that this aspiration, this desire to be free from all the bondages, from all the obligations, all the duties, all the norms, is hardwired into each of us. Each of us has the capacity and also the aspiration to feel, to be in aloneness. And we should acknowledge this inner hermit, just like as we should acknowledge the inner child, so also we should acknowledge the inner hermit. If we don't acknowledge this inner hermit, what happens is at the old age, when we are alone and we recognize the fact, in fact, we are alone. It was the journey of the alone to the alone. Then the inner hermit, which we have neglected so long, has become weak, has become sick. And as a result, we find a hollowness in our life, a purposelessness in our life. So all of us should acknowledge, understand, and accept this inner hermit that is in each of us, and we should nurture it properly so that when time comes for the inner hermit to take off, it is ready, it is healthy, it is vibrating, and it can take off. Every creative individuals feel this need to be alone. Every work of creativity, every art, poetry, novel, all of them are created by this inner hermit. All the work of creativity, we find that the creativity don't flourish in crowd. For every creative work, we need to be alone with this inner hermit. Swami Ranganathanandaji, who was an illumined monk, he used to tell us, the monks, that too much rubbing of shoulders with others throttle the creativity, is not good for creativity. Every innovation that we see in the world, it is the work of the hermit, which is alone. That is why we find one research found that there is one common element in most of the creative individuals. They are late nighters. They burn their midnight fuels. Why? Because at that time they are alone. They need this aloneness to be creative. Of course, the other way around is not true. Burning midnight fuel automatically does not make one creative, but the point is that creative people need this solitude, need this inner hermit to flourish. And we see that most of the scientists who did great innovations, they were like hermit. They were like hermit. Their life was akin to hermit's life. Because every act of creativity or innovation requires deep thinking, deep questions, solutions to deep questions, profound questions. And that calls for this solitude, when the inner hermit can deal with these questions. That is why we see that most profound questions, those who sought most profound questions of life, who am I? What is the purpose of life? What is the meaning of all these things? They preferred hermit way of life. Buddha found the answers to his questions, profound questions, existential questions, questions that bother to all of us, by walking away from his kingdom, by living like a hermit. Jesus Christ, after his baptism, spent 40 days in Judean forest in grappling with the questions of life. Sri Ramakrishna, we know, was priest of the Kshiteshwar. Throughout the day, he was engaged in his priestly duties and interacting with people. But in the evening, during his 12 years of sadhana, 12 years of spiritual practice, he would leave everything, go to the corner of the temple garden, the Panchavati Grove, the grove of 5 sacred plants, and there alone he will immerse himself in sadhana, in spiritual practice. And there he found solutions to the deep questions of his life. In the life of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, we see that very often they live like a hermit. In the midst of all their spiritual ministries, they very often live like a hermit. Even dynamic Swami Vivekananda, if we see in his life, in the midst of all his activities, all of his preaching, all of his busy life, all through his busy life in America, where he has been delivering maybe 3-4 lectures a day and moving from place to place, very often we see in his letters his inner urge to go to Himalaya. So these two notes we see in Swami Vivekananda's life. Life as a dynamic monk, and life, an inner urge to live like a hermit. So every creative questions, every creative problems, every answer to deep questions require the inner hermit to deal with them. What does it mean? Does it mean that we have to leave everything walk out from everything and live like a monk in total solitude? No. We need to, for answer, we need to look at the life of the Hermit of Concord, Henry David Thoreau, the Hermit of Concord. A few years ago, one interesting book came by William Power called Hamlet's Blackberry. He was trying to find a solution to the modern problem of our addictiveness to internet, to our gadgets, to our smartphones. And for solution, he looked past, in the past, and he drew lessons from 7 philosophers of the past, starting from Plato, Seneca, Shakespeare, and one of them was Henry David Thoreau. He found that every time in the past when a new way of communication has arrived, it has disrupted our old way of living. It is not a new thing. The thing may be new, internet may be new, but this problem, when communication increases, there is always a disruption. And how what he calls his gurus of the screen, how they found their solution. And he quotes extensively or refers to extensively about Henry David Thoreau. What we can learn from Henry David Thoreau, that he chose to live in Walden Pond, which is a interface. It is not total isolation, but also not in the midst of a bustling locality. It is kind of interface. So Thoreau would spend time with himself, in nature, with keen observation of the nature and his inner world. At the same time, he will be engaged with the society in balance. Thoreau was in 2 years, 1845 to 1847, when he lived like a hermit, he was not totally cut off from the society. He was quite engaged with the society. We find that he took keen interest in the railways. Then he even circulated a petition for his neighbors who were in need in Walden. And he did some marvelous innovation for pencil production, which was his family business, which for the first time became an American pencil company. It's a world-class American pencil was the product of his innovation in Walden. Before that, the standard in the entire world was Germany's Faber pencil. But Thoreau's innovation, Thoreau pencil, became the first of its kind in America, which was world standard. Not only that, he used to entertain guests. In his essays, The Visitors, he writes that sometimes 25 people would come to his cabin, small cabin, and he will entertain them. But amidst all these things, Thoreau lived a life of hermit. So, living with this inner hermit or taking care of the inner hermit does not mean we have to be totally cut off from the society, but we have to find a sweet balance. We have to strike a golden balance between solitude and engagement with the world. What is the advantages of living with the inner hermit or taking care of the inner hermit? When we take care or try to live in seclusion, with our inner hermit, we develop a rich inner life. We come face to face with our deepest inspiration, aspirations, values, problems, difficulties that contribute to an rich inner life. And paradoxically, who live in solitude, some seclusion, they feel more connected with people. They are not cut off from people, but they find connections at a deeper level. Such people, we find that become very good friends, very good friends. And not only that, they become very good conversationalists because they have a rich inner life. They gain inner peace and which they radiate around them. That is why we find that spiritually advanced people who take care of the inner hermit are source of solace and peace to others. We go to them and talk to them. Even they don't talk too much, they may not, but they are source of solace and peace to others. Why it is so? In psychotherapy, they say psychotherapist does not have the only role to be a good listener. The question is with what depth the person is listening. What depth the person, the psychotherapist has got, that hugely influences the person who is seeking the psychotherapy. That is why we find in people, spiritual giants like Swami Brahmanandaji, the disciple of Swami Sri Ramakrishna and the first president of our order, people would come to him, he would just remain silent, but people will find their problems have been solved just by listening to them, not advising, not talking too much about them. Why? Because not only they are listening, but they are listening from a depth of personality which has been nurtured by taking care of the inner hermit. Many people would say that they would have come to Swami Brahmanandaji with some questions in mind, but in his presence, the questions dissolved. They did not have to even ask the question. He uplifted them with a spiritual awareness, just merely by his presence. That is what we find. There are many examples like that. We have seen in our life that people who are spiritually advanced, who has taken care of the inner hermit from an early on, they become a source of solace and peace to others. This is what would happen if we take care of the inner hermit. Recognizing this inner hermit, I would say, is the beginning of spiritual life. Recognizing the fact that this journey is journey of alone to the unknown and alone to the alone. This is beginning of spiritual life. When we recognize the fact that what I am is more important than what I have, and what I am is largely determined by what my inner world is, and how my inner world is enriched by taking care of the inner hermit. That is why we find Sri Ramakrishna would often advise the people, the devotees, that try to live in solitude. A few days, if not possible for a day, if not possible even for a few hours, you should try to live in solitude. Another example of his hermit-like life that we should aspire to live comes from his advice of living in the world like a maid servant. A maid servant is doing all the duties and calling the children of the household as my Ram, my Hari. But at the same time, in her hearts of hearts, she knows that none of these really belong to her. And we find in Bhagavad Gita too, when Sri Krishna speaks about Karma Yoga, he is advising exactly the same way of life, doing all your duties, all your occupations, all your interactions, but keep the mind fixed in your spiritual pursuit. Whether it is God or impersonal Brahman, whatever your idea of God, remain connected with that. Know that that is your true home. That is living like a hermit. Sri Ramakrishna says that such a person is a concealed yogi. A concealed yogi. People don't know from his outward activities or appearances that he is a yogi, but such a person is concealed yogi. The Sanskrit word for monk or monasticism is called prabrajana. Prabrajana. And a monk is called paribrajak, and a nun is called prabrajika. So one meaning is going forth or wandering about. But the deeper meaning is going forward, setting out for this inner search about our reality, what we really are. That can be taken up by anybody, knowing ourselves, knowing our true nature. And that is the job of the hermit. In fact, the idealized Vedic way of life was meant to develop this hermit. So in Vedic way of life, they said there are 4 goals or pursuits of human beings. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Artha means wealth or prosperity. Kama means fulfilling your desires. Dharma means a moral life. So earn money, earn wealth, fulfill your desires, but within the boundaries of dharma, the boundaries of what we call a good life, a moral life, an ethical life. And 4 stages of life was student life, householder's life, retired life, and lastly, a monastic life. A child was sent to a hermitage, and in that hermitage, in the presence of the hermit, the child will learn all these pursuits, all the goals of life, and then earn practical knowledge, study, but having the full scope of human life in their views. They would then, from student life, they would enter into householder's life. There, the primary goal would be prosperity and fulfillment of desires, but within moral boundaries, dharmic life. But even as a householder, they needed to take care of the hermit. They needed to do their spiritual practices daily. At that time, they needed to be cut off from the entire society. So, nurturing the hermit within. And when they have completed their household duties, when their children are established, then, like a buffer zone, they would retire to a forest and live like a hermit, when their primary goal will be dharma and moksha. Moksha means spiritual pursuit. And finally, when they have spent some time like that, then they are ready to take off as full-fledged monastic life. Moksha, the ultimate goal, spiritual pursuit. So, in that way, from the very beginning, throughout their life, the lifestyle was designed to take care of the inner hermit. Swami Bhuteshanandaji used to tell the monks that our monks who are engaged in services, activities, in many types of social service, of course, in the spirit of service to others, it's a spiritual practice itself. But he used to tell that even though you are doing all these activities in a spirit of service, when you are meditating, when you are sitting for meditation, you have to completely withdraw from the world. That is, you have to forget even this Ramakrishna order. You have to think that even this organization does not exist. Instead of withdrawing from family affairs one by one, think yourself as a hermit before you sit for the meditation. You are totally cut off from the society. He used to say that is one secret of meditation. Because we also, the monks, even though we have left everything, we are also in a bigger family. And like any family, we also have worries, problems related to this bigger family. I sometimes used to jokingly, when I was in the headquarters and with my monastic friends, I would, in the midst of all these activities, I would often joke with them that it feels like, sometimes I feel like I renounce everything and become a monk again. So although I was a monk already at that time, the point is, irrespective of whether we are in a monastic vocation or we are a householder, time to time, daily, periodically, we need to totally cut off from rest of the world and live like a hermit. Unfortunately, the time we are living now does not allow us to be. We are continuously engaged with the world. After work, we come back, we have thousands of TV channels, thousands of shows going on. Then continuous emails, news feed, social media, internet in our hand, in our smartphones. Lot of studies are going on in this respect, and books after books are coming, that all these engagements, too much engagements with the external world, are making shallow human beings. Nicholas Carr has recently written a book, Shallows, that is this present generation, the Z generation or Y generation, who are exposed to all these internet and all the social media from an early age, they are much shallow in their thinking because their thinking is being manipulated by social media and news agencies. They are losing the capacity to think about themselves, to solve their own problems. Rather, they are being radicalized or being fed with hatred, with a, uh, extremist viewpoints, extremist ideologies. So it is creating a lopsided development. The young generation is forgetting or losing the capacity to think deeply about these problems. We are becoming shallows. We are neglecting this inner hermit more and more. So this inner hermit getting sick. How to take care of this inner hermit? I find that it is my own discovery, I would say, that we need to ask ourselves these two questions often to check the health of the inner hermit. First question is, am I happy? If I am not, if the answer is no, then we need to do what we can do about things which are not keeping us happy, what we can do about them if it is in our capacity. And things we cannot do anything about, we have to accept that. This inner hermit is capable of being happy irrespective of the circumstances. Irrespective of the circumstances. So the goal should be to get an yes answer for this first question, that yes, we are happy. But that is not enough, because all yes to this first question does not mean that this inner hermit is happy, really happy, or this inner hermit is in good health. Next question should be, and this is more important, can I be happy without all those things around me? All the things, circumstances, people which are making me happy. Can I be happy even without them? Can I walk out tomorrow from this place and still be happy? So this may seem scary, but it is not. It is a great advantage in asking this question. This question will prepare our mind to be happy irrespective of our circumstances. Irrespective of our circumstances. We really, in reality, we don't have to walk away from all those things tomorrow. But questioning this question, asking this question will prepare us, give us a sense of liberty. It is liberating. It is liberating to know, or even thinking about the possibility that we can be happy even without things we think we cannot be happy without. Some of our monks keep a bag, a small bag ready all the time, hanging in their room in plain sight. And that is, if I am told to leave, I shall take that bag and go away. They don't have to leave ever. They are never told like that. But having that bag, small bag ready to depart gives them a sense of inner freedom. And ultimately, all of us have to leave this world. Death is certain for all of us. Why we are afraid of death? Because we are unsure what will happen. How can we live? Or what will happen when the things which we think are absolutely necessary for us are being snatched away from us? So this question, asking this question, will prepare us for the ultimate walk away, the death. Swami Vivekananda, in one of his brief lectures to his monastic brothers at Belur Math before he came, just before he was leaving for his second visit to the West, he gave a brief talk called Sannyasa is Ideal and Practice. There he said, Sannyasa means this love of death. What did he mean by that? That is getting ready to let go of everything. Getting ready to let go of everything. Knowing that even without things which we think are absolutely necessary to be happy, we still can be happy. This is a totally inner quality to be happy. If we take care of the hermit, if we take care of the inner hermit, listen to it, acknowledge its presence, and nurture it with often being in solitude, spending time with that hermit, inner hermit, then it liberates us to think that even without the things which we feel, which are absolutely essential, even without them, we will be okay. We don't require many things to be happy. And even a little practice of this can save us. As Sri Krishna says in Arjuna, Salpam api dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even a little practice to cut off ourselves from the world and taking care of the hermit that is within us saves us from the great fear of death. Great fear of death. We need examples, right, to inspire us. In the Upanishads, we find examples of sages, Yagyavalkya, Ajatashatru, Janaka. Some of them were king, all of them were householders, and the kings had busy kingdom, but all of them, instead of all these responsibilities, were illumined people, because in addition to attending to their responsibilities, their interaction with the world, they took care of their inner hermit. Took care of their inner hermit. We find in modern times the life of Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi. In the midst of busy household, in the midst of countless responsibilities, in the midst of problematic people, troublesome people, she always remained like a hermit. She was in the midst of everything, but again, she was beyond all those things. That is the lesson for all of us. In the midst of everything, in the midst of all the interactions, in the midst of all our duties, obligations, are we still able to feel the aloneness, not the loneliness, the aloneness, the joy of aloneness? If we could, then we shall have a richer inner life, peace, deeper connection with others, and if pursued properly, it will help us to conquer the fear of death. In sum, I would like to say that I feel that to be alone, cut off from the world from time to time, can be called the urge of our inner hermit, which is an universal aspiration. Like the inner child, it should be acknowledged, accepted, and taken care of. If we take care of that, we have a more meaningful, purposeful, rich life, and we don't have to be totally away from the society, from our obligations, but it will be like living in an interface between the society and in our inner world. And that is what Sri Ramakrishna advises for our spiritual growth. For our spiritual growth, for our meditation, we need to, time to time, often, regularly, become the hermit and strike a balance between the outer world and the inner world. That will help us ultimately to understand our aloneness, the joy of being alone, and conquer the fear of death. Even little practice of this will save us from great danger. So the topic was challenging. I don't know how much I could convey to you, but one thing I can tell you, these two questions that I said we should ask ourselves often are liberating questions. Even if the answers are not yes all the time, asking the questions itself prepare our mind to be happy even without anything. So you may please try that, asking yourself with these two questions. Thank you, and we shall chant the closing chant together. Then I shall open the discussion for comment, feedback, question, discussion. So let us chant together in a call and response manner. Om Madhubata Ritayate Madhuksharanti Sindhavaha Madhiirna Shantoshadhihi Madhunaktam Utoshasi Madhumat Parthivagam Rajaha Madhudvau Astuna Pita Madhumano Vanaspatir Madhumagam अस्तु सूर्यः माधीर्गावो भवन्तु नः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Sweet blow the winds, and the oceans give forth blessedness. May the herbs and plants bring us health and happiness. Sweet unto us be the nights and dawns. May every particle of Mother Earth be charged with blessing. May the heavens shower us with benediction. Sweet unto us be the noble forest trees. Sweet unto us be the shining sun. Sweet unto us be all living creation. Om, sweetness, harmony, peace.